yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again behind the scenes as usual these days. But we have our usual suspects of the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have Spiggs 18 or Anthony. We have Alpha Dean or Dean. And before we get into things, just as a quick reminder, be sure to follow us here on Twitch and subscribe to us over on YouTube. It is a great help for our channel, and we really appreciate all the support we've gotten thus far. But without further ado, Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
Well, guys, it's an interview night. We got our good friend Scott Conventry from ZealZaddy, game designer, content creator, co-founder of ZealZaddy Gaming, and a game master extraordinary for more games than we want to mention at one time. ZealZaddy has a fantastic website, YouTube, and Twitch channel. Welcome, Scott. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm super excited to be here. I'm in my Old Gods regalia today, what I was using when I was running Old Gods for 3 long series. And I'm just excited to sit and chat with you guys and talk about all the cool stuff that is Cypher, Cypher Unlimited, Monty Cook Games, and ZealZaddy and their intersection.
All right.
Welcome, Scott. Welcome, Scott. Welcome to the CU. I think you're our first guest in 4 years that came in dressed for the occasion. You know, you have the bow tie on. You might be our first bow tie guest. So, you know, we notched that off our bucket list.
if given time, I might slip into a Southern drawl and everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely gonna talk about your Old Gods again because I actually been devouring that for the last day and a half. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. But before we even get into that, you know, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your gaming experience for all listeners?
Sure. I started gaming when I was about 13-ish. And I actually did. Can we talk about other game systems here?
Absolutely. We're gonna go in all directions.
I actually attempted a D&D world record with a team that actually did get the world record for a 100-hour game in the 80s. Oh. And I did not make it to the end. I got sick at 67 hours or something. But I will tell you, I'm going to make amends for that one of these days. And I have an idea on how to do it. We'll get to that later, though. So,
So how many?
We were up in Dragon Magazine in the old days.
Yep, I remember that.
How many hours did you get in? That's freaking crazy.
I got 67. The game was going 100 hours, and the rest made it to 100. I think one other person got sick, but you know, it was kind of cool. We got written up in Dragon in a little block this big. It was a terrible game, if I remember correctly, but D&D was not my first game to play, although it was the first thing that I ever DM'd. My first game to play was Traveler, the little black box set. Yeah.
Good set.
And in the interim, I've designed a system or two. I've done design for board game companies. I do design for a couple of other companies doing books in the TTRPG space. And we, of course, have put out a zillion pieces of product, and we're moving them all from the other place to Cypher right now. But we're starting with some new stuff. So, you know, we'll talk about that when we get in here.
Oh, that's awesome. First off, one of your Cypher products has to be called The Other Place now. It's a perfect title for a Cypher adventure. And second of all, I think you would have lost me mentally at 16 hours playing D&D. I think that would have probably been my cap. So you going 67, you know, I tip my hat off to you. Absolutely.
They give you actually rest rules. You do get to rest. You get 15 minutes every, if I remember, it was 4 hours. So you'd build up like half an hour every 8 hours. And it doesn't mean anything. 15 minutes is gone so fast. Your eyes close and you open them up again. That's about what.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
So Scott, you're the co-founder of ZealZaddy, a fantastic gaming group that does so many interesting things across several different multimedia platforms. Can you tell us a little bit about ZealZaddy and what it's all about?
Sure. ZealZaddy is the brainchild of myself and Cliff Dunn, who is one of my friends from the early days of D&D era. We met at a place called the Broward Game Players Club, which used to be in Broward County a gaming club that was not a store. It was the only one I'd ever seen for years. And you pay a membership, you'd go, and they had private rooms, and we'd just play games all the time. Other people spend their time doing a lot of things. All we did, all of the group, and there were probably 50 of us DMs. All we did is run and play games, and hundreds more players, and it was the shit. That was an amazing place. To not be pressured into buying stuff and instead just getting food and drinks. It was like going to Denny's, except it was all gaming all the time. It was amazing. I loved that place. And the store that I frequented at the time was the Complete Strategist, and then Dragon's Lair Games, and I think there's actually Complete Strategist still in New York. But
Yeah.
so I loved all that. I used to collect comics too, so there was a little bit of intersection there. And my first introduction to like anime was like Star Blazers and stuff like that. Nobody's ever, And then eventually, I was always the one though who liked the weird games, the esoteric games. I always loved the surreal, and I like horror that is more mental than just gore. Like movies. I love Silence of the Lambs. There's little gore. It is psychologically, terrifying stuff. But I also
go see Longlegs.
Huh?
Go see Longlegs.
Yeah, I heard. I haven't seen it yet. I will. I love Twin Peaks. I thought that was amazing when all three, including the one on Showtime. The one on Showtime was super surreal. But
yeah, it was.
I also think there's a lot to be said for when you can pick up good ideas from books to bring in. Like, I love Neil Gaiman as a great influence for the games I run. Like, matter of fact, one of the games I'm going to run coming up, which is an Invisible Sun, there's some influences I pulled from rereading American Gods and Neverwhere and Coraline. And just I read or watch TV or movies kind of for months before I think about starting to run something usually, and then I start taking notes on what I want to set up. But then, like, I don't railroad. I adapt every week. Like when I run, I start with an idea because you have to have an inciting incident. In my head, you got to have something happen first, and then you have to live with the consequences of what the players do. So every week I re-listen to the episode, I take notes on it, and then I plan out what I think could happen from what they said they were happening or going to do. So I do look for arcs, and I try and pull what they're doing into the arcs that we end up at. But I think that you need to have some kind of an idea of what you want to do, but the players really should be running the show. They should know it.
It's funny you say that, because the other day I was having a discussion on the server, and I said the only time I think I have full control of my game as a GM is the setup to the opening scene of the very first scene of the session. Because, that setup scene, I'm going to have full control because I know how I'm going to lay it out. But after that, the players can go in any direction they want. So that's the only time I feel like I have full control of the scene. That first 10 minutes.
It's literally what I tell people all the time about the adaptability is what I always say, when I say players don't know what I had planned. Mm-hmm. So especially if they come up with something good, I just adapt it and, keep it moving. Let's tell a great story. Let the players feel like they're doing something, because they are. We're telling a story together. So
yep.
I think we all come from the same mind with that whole concept.
Yeah. When I run Invisible Sun, one of the things I want to do is in my head, I had this idea of the characters playing gods, like in Sandman, where they're domain gods of things that are relatively powerful, but not to the point where you're undefeatable, and where they're having to go back and forth between the suns to do the things they need to do under the gray sun, where the mundane is every day, where we happen to be stuck, except maybe when we dream.
I mean, that actually a good lead in. You're talking about, is that going to be a streamed game or is it a home game?
Yeah, I only stream now. I love meeting people from all over the world. My partner only runs local.
Oh.
I only run streams. Although I think he's going to run something streamed soon. We're talking about it, getting him to do a little something. But I used to love the table, and I've actually gotten to where I love being able to run a game where I have someone from Germany, someone from Canada, someone from Spain, someone from St. Louis. To pull that kind of mix, to me, is just the magic of stream. That's the one thing streaming can do that no other way of playing a role-playing game can do.
Facts. So that's a perfect lead into my question. You guys have a Twitch stream, your YouTube channel is full of actual plays. Do you have a game or a setting that you prefer for streamed games? And do you have a series on your channel you would recommend people to start with so they can get a good idea of what ZealZaddy is all about?
Yeah, I am dressed in my Old Gods of Appalachia cosplay, and those Old Gods of Appalachia games that I ran earlier in the year are just the cast was unbelievably good. I would start on the first one, and each one is a mini series, so they're about 8 to 10 episodes, and the first one ends with 2 glorious player deaths, 2 get away, 1 gets away very scathed, and it was an amazing game. One died in a way that was beautiful. Like their soul became a crow, part of a crow that sat and watched over the where the people are buried all over it in the town they're in. 1 died being heroic in a collapsing home that was sliding off the side of a mountain. That house was built slaunchwise to the mountain, which is why it's called Slaunchwise to the Mountain. And 2 of them left best friends, and 1 of them left damaged in the head.
That's my kind of game.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
To me, that sounds like a good time.
It was an amazing time. All 3 of them were an amazing time. I would definitely start with 1. I really think that Old Gods, when it came out, it tickled my funny bone in a way no other game had before, and maybe hasn't since. I finished running it for the year. I've got a couple other Cypher games I'm going to run this year, but I am going to rerun it again next year. When I do it, I put out casting calls when I run these games. It's an experience. First, I love the books. They're written amazing, and the setting is gorgeously horrifying. But I mean, if you listen to the podcast, and if you don't listen to the podcast, what the hell are you doing? Go listen to the damn podcast. It's amazing.
The MCG book is so beautifully illustrated as well. I still think that's one of the most provocative covers they've ever made in a role-playing game, period. Not just an MCG. That cover is ridiculous.
It's immersive. It's immersive and evocative. It makes you feel the setting. Even before you start reading it. So
it was also one of the few accents that I can really kick ass in. Because when I grew up in St. Louis, and I had friends. We used to go to a place called Table Rock Lake in the Lake of the Ozarks. So I heard growing up Ozark talk, which is very similar to Appalachian talk. So I could pull down into a drawl. Although for me to really do it, I have a secret trick.
Mhm.
There's these 2 YouTube videos that I watch for like an hour while I'm prepping. I'm not even doing anything. I'm listening to it. And it's all about Appalachian language. And I let it kind of soak into my head for an hour before I run. And by the time I'm ready to run, oh my God, it will just, you wouldn't know. And
Not, not to put you on the spot. Can you give us a sentence or two?
oh, I don't know if you're ready to handle something like that. You're like a city slicker. You could not handle that. You move too fast.
Not bad at all, Scott. Not bad at all. My mother's side of the family's all from Virginia, so I hear it all the time. It's great. So, so you're a host, also the host of Story Talk, where you discuss various tabletop topics with creators, GMs, world builders, cosplayers, and players. How did you get the idea for the show? How'd that come about? And do you have a favorite topic that you've done on the show?
I do have a couple really awesome topic shows. It really came about when everybody here, I'm sure, knows Gamer Mom Luna, because she's amazing.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Sunday night was like my night to just like chill and watch stuff. And when she said she was going to stop doing the show, I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my Sunday nights? Shit, I loved hearing people talk about stuff. So I said, you know what? I'll try and do my own show. I'm going to just have a show. So the inspiration was Gamer Mom Luna not doing it anymore. And then she started doing it again. So then I started adjusting my schedule to not be on the same night she was, because she did it once a month. And I was like, all right, I'm just not going to do it on the first Sunday of every month. So I can join in her show, and then I'll do it on my other shows. So it became sort of, I love doing it. I mean, I always love meeting people. So anytime that I get a chance to not only meet people, but quench my curiosity, because I'm curious about every damn thing there is under the sun. So if I want to know about cosplay, I'm going to have a show about cosplay. You'll notice I had a show about cosplay before I did Old Gods. It was like I had it planned, ready to go, and then I did Old Gods. I also did one of the shows that was really special was a show on on people who appreciate Cypher System and talking about their appreciation for it. And Alpha Dean was one of the stars of that show. It was an amazing show. Chris Negline was on it. Who else was on it? I'm trying to remember. I actually, let me see if I have it. It was the 2 of you, and Eileen Barnes was on it, and Realty Unicorn Alex. So the 4 of them were on it. Damn, that was an amazing show. There was one show I did on sensitivity readers for TTRPGs. That is maybe the most important one I've ever done. The group in there was just amazing. I learned so much about that. And as a publisher, I've always had in my head there are blind spots I don't know about, and I need to both be careful and start learning about sensitivity reading so that I can make sure I'm not crossing somebody's lines that would harm the product and myself and embarrass me. Like, I don't want to be embarrassed about things that we might put in a book inadvertently. So that show was really an amazing show. I love the GM roundtables. There's always things. Trooper SJP is an amazing guest, and I actually think he has run a Cypher game or 2.
Nice.
But I've learned some things from him. Like, I learned how he gets really good casts, and he pays his performers. And I learned a lot about how he does it and all that. And I'm considering testing those waters with my Invisible Sun game. It may be actually paid performers. And I want to see if there's a difference. Like, will I get performers that are, I don't know, I don't want to say the next level, because I don't want to downplay the performers I get now. But is there something that I may be missing that I'm not getting? And I don't know. And I want to find out. So I think I might do that. It might be a very cool thing to do. If I do that, I may reach out to people rather than cast, but I don't know yet. I'm a little early on that. I've gotten my music started. I got my music commission in from OBP Musical, and I'm getting ready to start building the video for that, but I'm still a couple of months away, so it's, yeah, he's a really, I think, a very impressive GM, great tools in his arsenal that he shared. On that episode, as a matter of fact, there are links to his GM toolkit that he uses, and spectacular. And I'm always out to learn. You know, I want to know everything I can about everything I can.
This is a part of our line of questioning, but it made me want to ask this since you mentioned paid performers. We have this discussion all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What quality you think for a stream actor or a person playing a PC in a stream game is an absolute must for you?
If you watch my games, it's funny. I was cutting clips and thinking about sending clips to you guys, but I love players that can bring really emotional performance. I love when a player comes in and is like, "Can you emotionally damage me?" I'm like, "I'm your man. I will definitely work on that with you." And I use consent tools. I use a Monty Cook Games consent in gaming tools every session zero, so I have an understanding of where my lines are, and I build stories. I expect backstory. Some GMs don't like it. I expect a couple of pages. I have had 60 pages, which was a little much, but a couple of pages to give me some idea of ways to hurt you and or help you. But not necessarily that order.
And the second part to this question is, as a GM, what do you do differently in a stream game opposed to a at-home in-person game?
I don't do anything different. I try and keep it where it feels like a home game that just happens to be in little windows. Oh, that's not true. I don't use miniatures, and I don't love VTTs as a replacement for them. I do use alchemy and shard, but I use them more as ways to show props and images and things like that rather than combat. If I do bring it up for combat, no, you're fighting 400 things, because that's the only reason I would ever do it.
Oh, so if I'm ever in one of your games and I hear Scott say, "Let's go to the map," I can just basically say, "Hey, we screwed, guys."
Yeah, it's a real combat comment. If I'm pulling out a map like that and you have to place your token, shit's about to hit the fan. Not the little things where you're ducking behind a box and not get shot. I mean, the zombie horde is arriving.
So we've been talking about you GMing offline, streamed online. You run many different systems, which is a great thing. We all polygamers here. What do you look for in a game or a system? And in your opinion, what makes a good game?
I'm a setting first person more than system. So some of the systems that I think there's maybe 3 companies that really hit me every time. Cypher is the top of them. I like a lot of Free League publishing products.
Awesome company.
Tales from the Loop, Things from the Flood. I backed Electric State, which I'll run that when that comes out. And there's this new little product that I backed that I cannot wait to run called Triangle Agency by Haunted Table Games. It's their first game. It is a really unique system, but to me, the setting is fantastic. I love surreal. If it feels like David Lynch wrote a little bit of it, I'm already in. Like I'm into that. Like that's what I look for in games. I love the Simon Stollenhag stuff. I think it's very interesting that how many books can you think of in TTRPGs that were really designed by the artist? Because they're almost all designed by the writers. And that's the only one I've seen that wasn't. And I think it made it really unique because of that.
Index Card RPG is another one.
Yeah, cool.
It's the only one I could think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I love surreal, I love esoteric. I don't care whether it's modern or fantasy or sci-fi. I like all of those. Um, so like I plan on running the Magnus Archives, and that is modern-ish and horror and surreal. Matter of fact, the other day I had my idea for it, which I'm not going to say on stream. It's gestating in my head right now. But that kind of stuff. I also love hints of horror all the way to strong psychological horror. But I also love nostalgia. Like Tales from the Loop, to me, I get love out of the nostalgia. I mean,
Yep.
when like I put together a playlist for that game that's on Spotify, and I drop the link in the chat sometimes, and people can listen into the sounds of the 80s and the 90s, because I'm actually running both games simultaneously, which is crazy and fun, where they played the same characters at two different ages, and we do flashbacks into the 80s and flash forward, and then we play in the 90s.
That sounds awesome.
Because there's something really unique about that game, which is in Tales from the Loop. Can't believe I'm talking about this on Cypher. Cypher Unlimited. Kids can't die. Yeah. So I know they're not. I don't have to worry about killing them in the past. They'll be okay. I can kill them in the 90s. They can die in the 90s. Yeah, and that's
so you figured out the secret in Tales from the Loop how to get character death.
Yep, no character death. But you can be sent to your room.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, like I have Polus, for instance, and I love fantasy games, but I'm kind of tired of fantasy. Like, I'm tired of traditional fantasy TTRPGs. That's why I'm running so many things that are modern or sci-fi and horror. I ran a 3-year campaign that was all fantasy, and man, that is just a long game. And now I'm doing 8 to 10 episode mini games. I think they're more fun. I think you can feel the story arc and the character arcs way more powerfully in 8 or 10 sessions than you can in 96 sessions or something. Makes it a 3-year game. Like you lose too much of the character in that, and it becomes more about stats and development than about character development, narrative, the player and GM narrative, and telling a fun, fantastic story that feels meaty enough and has enough longevity to feel like it's like a novel, rather than, like, I don't really love one shots. You don't see me run many one shots. I do run them occasionally on other people's streams, things like that. Like Insight Checked, I ran a game a couple of years ago on she does like a Friday guest GM thing. I like doing those occasionally, but I just don't like that one shots always feel like they're just for goofing around and chaos. Fine.
It's kind of funny you bring.
We the one shot lovers here. I'm just busting your chops.
No, it's funny you bring it up because, like I said, I've been doing one shots because it was Cypher Unlimited, because of this group. Mm-hmm. But I was always the campaign guy, and you know what? I'm kind of like, I found a happy medium. I really do like, I've been doing, when I get the opportunity, 6 to 12 episode arcs with players, and it works out really good. And then sometimes what's nice, you can come back and revisit it, because I did freshman year for Unmasked when it first came out, which was really fun. So that's pretty cool that, it's kind of, that I think that might be the wave of the future.
There's one game that you guys brought up the other day, and I had just gotten it the day before you talked about it, which was It's Only Magic. I think I'm going to run a couple one shots or two shots of that because I think it feels right for it. It feels like it could be a Harry Potter movie. Like, yeah. 1 or 2 episodes, you could get a full story in, feel like it meant something to everybody. And because of the way that it's written and the way that it works, I think you could have a little bit of the chaos that you want for a one shot, but also there's enough meat to tell a story. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, Dean, before you ask your question, Scott is just giving me these jewels to ask other questions. You mentioned It's Only Magic, and you mentioned Old Gods. Which MCG format do you prefer? Do you prefer the white book toolkit format in their products, or you prefer the Old Gods, a fully fleshed out, cohesive setting?
Should I say it? I prefer the settings, but there are times when you don't want to be in the settings. Like if you're creating, you want to be out of the settings more. Also, I think one thing that kind of worries me a little bit is Mind Cook Games puts out a lot of product, and every time they put out a book, I'm like, well, that's another setting area. No one's going to make another product in because it's already awesome. So there's no space for a second of that.
Yeah, don't feel bad, because I think that's a complaint a lot of people have.
Really? I've never heard that.
Oh no! I mean, we've heard that multiple times. I mean, that's a discussion that happens all the time on the server, that they'll release something really. Predation is the perfect example of that, right? Yeah, like it's such a great book, but then you get the feeling like, oh, we'll never see a second part to this book because they move on to the next product, and hopefully they'll go back to actually kickstart and hit all these older books back. And because I think that would, if they just say, hey, we're going to do Predation again, we're going to do The Strange again, we're going to do, Old Gods, Gods of the Fall again, I think they'll make a killing. But that's not, we've had that discussion multiple times here on that show. Don't feel bad about that.
And I think I'm the only person who really doesn't care. Yeah. I mean, I'd love if they go back, but I don't care if they don't. It's like, I've got it. Okay, I got my inspiration. I can do stuff with it, but it's just funny. Yeah. So, we're talking about this. I mean, you streamed a few sessions of Old Gods of Appalachia. How do you feel Cypher holds up? And do you have any MCG setting you'd like to play in on air?
Yeah, the things that I know I'm going to run coming up are Invisible Sun and Magnus Archives this year. Next year I'll run another Old Gods and whatever new thing comes out at the time, because I'm always looking, and I always want to bring I always want to bring new things in too that come out. I think Old Gods holds up really well as a cipher setting. One thing that I do worry about long campaigns. Like, I think advancement in Cypher is tricky with long campaigns. If characters hold on to their XP a lot. Now, if you get to the end of any of the series I was running, they were burning their XP to save roles, to change roles. I mean, they didn't buy a damn skill. Like, oh no, I don't need a skill. I need a new role, probably.
I need to live in the moment right now.
Yes. So, but I haven't run a really long campaign in it. But even when I was reading it and seeing how it went, I was like, I think that long form campaigns, maybe Numenera would be a good one to test it in, run something a little longer there. It could, I think in my head, there's a fear that advancement will become a problem. Like, they'll either become overpowered very quickly, in which case you're running rifts and they're on the one side and you're on the other. Or they're always chasing rerolls and XP, like constantly, so they never advance much. And to me, I don't really think it necessarily matters, but for a longer campaign, you want to be able to increase the danger by bringing in bigger and nastier things. Actually, maybe you don't have to do that. Maybe you don't have to increase it. I mean, how many people in real world actually get much better than they are when they're like 35? Yeah. They don't get better, not many things.
Yeah, I think you're saying something that I've been saying for a while now. I think what makes Cypher such a great streaming game it's its cinematic nature, right? And the things that you could do at early levels that you just can't do in other games. So you could take a tier one. You could take a tier one group, and when you stream, you could be tackling like really a wider range of stories in a stream game with Cypher, right?
Yeah.
In the same sense, though, the longer as you can, it's like what you said, it becomes Palladium. It becomes Palladium games. It becomes Rifts at a point because you're getting so powerful that, in a way, there's a difference between a campaign and a forever game, like you can play at second edition D&D, right? I don't necessarily think Cypher system is the system for you if you want to play that 10-year campaign in AD, like you could in AD&D back in the days.
I would say that a smart world-building GM who knows the system could build tools to create that pretty well if they put in the time. I mean, D&D is one thing. It is a linear type game. Everything goes like a chain up. Cypher's just crazy flexible. There's so many ways you can go with so many different things. I think characters are a little less limited. You know, once you pick up a class or something in D&D, you kind of have your base of your future established, and with your GM you can doctor a little bit, but you know, a monk's going to still be a monk in the end. And in this, I don't think Cypher's like that. I mean, you can really become a very widely dispersed set of skills and talents and stuff like that I think is a little more unique to Cypher. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Cypher is that your XP is not stuck doing one thing. And because of that, players become less expectant on that growth. Like when I was running, I think they advanced once or twice, but they never felt like that was the goal. That was never the goal. It was just a byproduct of playing long enough that they got enough XP to do it.
If you look at Cypher through the lens, like I would say, I'm going to say it, guys. Here comes paradigm shift. If you look at it through that lens, you start to realize that you're telling a story. And if you look at it like you're doing a TV show or a TV series, characters do advance. Characters do get better. They grow, they evolve. And that's what I think it is with Cypher. It's more of a storytelling aspect of the evolution of the characters versus you just, I got 10 more hit points this level. And, I got my armor class went down 2 points. No, there's actual meaning to your advancement. It means something. It is something. And it becomes a tool for you as a GM just as well as it is a tool for the player. If you have your mind in the right place to see it, for the doors to open, Eric, take a shot.
Yeah. I also think, though, the magic in particular is considerably better and more interesting in Cypher than in those other systems.
Thank you. People want to slam magic in Cypher system. I don't understand why.
It's because they want to see how many dice of damage they can do. Or, I think it's very straightforward, but I also think it's boring in the other way. I mean, everybody knows everything. Every system does everything exactly. That system does everything exactly the same all the time. So Cypher, the magic, it feels more connected to the world. I mean, the setting, I think, is really important. And it feels like if you read about magic in the past, Fireball was not a thing. But sympathetic magic with a hen basket and things like that, that was a thing. And it feels a little bit more like it has more depth and realism. And I don't like to use the word realism. It feels more like something that feels like magic rather than Saturday morning cartoon magic. I just don't want it to be that. I don't want it to be comical. I want it to feel like if a witch does cast a spell on you or a curse on you, it should feel subtle and dangerous, not something you just have to go get a remove curse on and you're good to go.
Since we're BSing about Cypher, right? we ask this to everybody that we get on for the first time. How do you feel about a GM not rolling dice?
Ooh, that was hard. That was hard. I've gotten used to it, and I think the players appreciate it. That was maybe the biggest. Oh shit! What do I do?
I saw your pain in your eyes there, Scott, for a split second.
Like I have all these beautiful dice, and I get to do nothing with them. I mean, you can hear me clicking dice because you just have like a habit of having dice in your hand around you.
I'm a dice goblin, and trust me, I feel the same. I feel the pain, but it's so liberating though. In the other side of the coin, because players can't oh, you fudged the roll. No, you did this to yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's where I get the most joy by not being able to roll the dice.
There is a time when you get to roll dice, when you have tables of encounters that you want to do and things like that. So, like, I try and make sure I have a few things around here and there if they're going to fit. I like encounter tables, although I don't love every encounter table. I like.
You see, I've gone the other route. I've gotten so spoiled. Even when I have a cipher chart, I make the players roll it. Like I literally.
Cool.
I roll 0 dice. Like if it's a cipher chart, I'll be like, Dean, roll a D10, or whatever it is. I should roll it myself just so I can get back into the habit, but it's been a while since I rolled the dice as a GM.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the only thing I can say with Cypher is, like, especially with Cypher Unlimited, I actually get to play a lot more than I ever have before, because I was always the forever GM. So that's probably the only bonus that I get to roll dice on the other side. Mm-hmm. But
I am going to spill the beans on why it's awesome, though. It allows you to free your head from all that shit.
Yeah.
All you have to do is pay attention to the story and your performance and their performance. That's it.
And you don't even have to worry about the math either, because the players are going to do all the calculating on their end.
Yeah.
We have to talk about that. That was a whole thing on the server. Big thing on the server. But
hey, okay.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask chat if you have a question for Scott. Just I see that Eric posted one, but if you have a question for Scott, we're gonna ask them all at the end. Just preface it with the word question, so Al knows that it's a question directed at Scott, and we will, if Scott has time, we'll ask it after our line of questioning. So yeah, if you got anything to ask Scott, just post it in chat. We'll gladly ask it for you. So my question was gonna be is, not only were you busy with content creation, you're also a game designer and a developer who has created your first cipher system project called the Porter, which you showed us today, which looks freaking phenomenal. You even had help with a well-known fantasy author, Matthew Hudges, on this project. Can you tell our audience, can you tell our audience about this project? And how do you like designing for Cypher System?
Well, I'll tell you things I love about design for Cypher in a moment. But let me tell you about the Porter first. The Porter was created. We wanted to make a splash with our first product. So we said, why don't we hire? We've been wanting to do this. So our whole plan is to build out a city, small pieces at a time. We want to do the opposite of Tollus. We don't want to give you a tome. We want to give you 4,000 tomes, mini books of the NPCs and their connections. Next year we're going to kickstart a book of 100 deep dive NPCs. It's going to be amazing, and you'll see You'll see this coming as you look at the products. So we hired a writer. We went out and we looked at some writers, and we found a writer who's a novel writer. This is one of the books he wrote. So this is Nine Tales of Raphalon. That's Matthew Hughes. He's a well-known fantasy author. And we said, we want a 10,000-word novelette. He gave us a price. We choked and said, we should do this anyway. Let's just do it. Because our products are relatively small, and I don't want to drop our first product on Cypher to be just one of our products being moved from the other place to Cypher. So why don't we do this? We'll hire the writer. We'll do the release as a novelette on drive-through or on the book publishing side, and the Cypher, and then we'll build out all the characters that he put in there and the setting into the first book, The Porter. So we did a deep dive on all the characters, built them out, statted them out, created all the ciphers that were in the story, and it was just an amazing experience. First, we didn't have to write the story, which we've been writing so much for the last year and a half anyway. It was kind of nice to see a better writer than us really take a shot at ostensibly what is our pillar, which is Vadishar is the city that we're building out. So we did that, and we put them together into a bundle where I think they're like $4 on drive-through for the two of them together. The story is fantastic, and then you get the cipher stuff, so you can read the story and you have the characters in front of you. All the ciphers are written out that you read about in the book. An amazing experience. He was so excited. He was like, I'd love to do another one. Can we get started on that? I'm like, oh, no, I can't afford you yet. I need a moment to catch my breath, and then we'll do another one. But he actually,
how many $4 copies I got to sell to pay you back?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to make my money back on it. I really did. It didn't matter to me. I just didn't want to start with the typical book. I wanted to start with something that had purpose and would make it be a statement. So that's what we did, and it was our first cipher book. It was definitely interesting writing for it. One thing I think aren't done enough is I love subtle ciphers, because our books are, since you're in one city, there's a lot of people who aren't very powerful as far as all these, fighting skills and magic skills, but they know the bureaucracy, and they know the underground, and they know where things are hidden, and they know where the real villains might be. And we're like, those require more subtle things, not just GM intrusions. Like, there's one thing, if you get the sheafs of paper, 10 of them, that are already pre-signed by a high priest, those ciphers allow you, if you're a smart player, to write a mandate for the church, like for that religion. And you can get away with some crazy stuff if you think through it, but it's not for someone who wants the fireball caster. This is more about intrigue and a dangerous place. There's magic, of course, and we're bringing more of that. We have another product we're working on right now that we're, I think, about a week away from releasing. That is another NPC deep dive. It's of a group called Slinge and his extortion gang. Slinge is a loan shark. So actually Slinge the loan shark and his extortion gang. I'm waiting on a few pieces of art to be finished by the amazing Natalie Chenard. She's doing some original art in there. And it's going to be very cool. There's a magic item in there, an artifact that so we used KedHub to read through the stats and stuff, because since we're new to creating for it, I was like, we definitely need a pro to look at the stuff. And he was the best. He's
awesome.
So we were talking about it the other day. There's one piece in there that he loved. It was called the necklace of Aunt Zuzu, and it has to be recharged every time you use it, and it's like a villainy kind of thing. To recharge, you have to tell a hurtful lie to someone you love, or a dangerous truth to someone that is your enemy.
Oh, that's a great. I love items like that, because it builds on the narrative for you as a GM.
If you get and you want to use it, you have to be an asshole to use it.
Yeah.
Or just pick your poison, use it once.
Yeah.
But what it does, it allows you to influence them by making them tell a truth or a lie to someone that you want them to tell it to, and within an 8-hour period. So it's like to me, that's a quiet magic that's really dangerous. It's like, I love those kinds of things.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So moving forward, do you have any advice for our audience who might want to get into game designing or content creation?
I have a lot of advice on it. I have a couple story talks on it, by the way. Yeah, first off, I would suggest starting small. I mean, we're planning to do Vatishar next year as a setting, but we've been building stuff for it and releasing stuff for it for 2 years in little increments. We knew we couldn't bite off a 300 or 400 page book and feel comfortable we would actually ever release it. We would just be, you get caught up in the morass of edits, editing, redoing art, all the stuff. I'd say do something small and test the waters. Cypher's much easier to do, by the way, than the other stuff. It's a really, it's a flexible system that allows you to kind of learn more as you go. You do need to know about the stats and stuff enough, but I mean, heck, it's 3 stats. How bad can it be? One big pool. So that'd be the first thing. Find a good artist. Make sure you have a good cover. Some kind of a cover that's worthy of a piece. Even if it's stock, you can buy stock. There's some really good stock artists out there. I would suggest getting a custom piece for your cover. It's worth the money if you can do it. If you can't, you can't, and that's fine. But I think one thing that I would find really hard for people to buy would be a artless cover, even if it's a great product. It's very hard for people to wrap their head around paying something for that where they feel like art wasn't spent on. Don't use AI for any of it. It's not good for your soul. And actually, we have some AI art in a couple of our pieces, and it's because I hired an artist that didn't know what AI was when that was first happening, and I commissioned an artist about a month ago to start replacing those pieces, and so they're getting replaced. And I was so pissed when I found out what happened, but I'd already paid, and the books were already out. I'm like, what the?
How did you find out it was AI art?
Because I started seeing AI art for the first time after I had someone who used it, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I started looking at it, and yeah, it was. So like there's one piece called Khalil Azmi. He's a merchant. We have a book on him and the people around him, and I'm replacing that art. It's a cool cover. It's not right. Pay artists and don't cheat them. And writers, don't accept AI written copy either, because we did have someone submit AI written copy too.
Oh, that's crazy.
We refused to pay for that.
You actually had somebody try to sell you an AI written story?
They denied it, but when we read it, there was no way it wasn't AI written. The story was stupid, made no sense, didn't mention any of the stuff it was supposed to mention, submitted as it was crazy. It was just so wrong. I can't even say it. It hurts to even talk about it.
That's crazy.
And the time we lost. We lost a month waiting on it, and then
that sucks.
Yeah.
What other projects you have coming out? Are you releasing non-Cypher related projects as well?
No, we're done with the other. We're done with the other place. We are moving that product because that's basically the Vatishar setting stuff. We just didn't want to start with all the stuff just being moved over, but that's in process too. So we've got I think we have like 40 or 50 pieces over there that we're bringing over, and some of them are books of magic items, which they'll be better in Cypher, to be honest. There's books on deep dive characters, and like the next one is going to be a book of gangs, and we're bringing over a whole bunch of gangs for cities, and you can use them in any Cypher city. So all of these things are not specific to Vatishar. We're writing them like they're in Vatishar, but you could change the name to whatever city you wanted, and they would work fine. We're going to do in that 100 NPCs book, we're going to do a map of how they're all connected, so that you can kind of get an understanding of the intricacies of the underground of a city, which I'm really excited about that. And then Vatishar, the map, the big map on that'll be start working on in January. But you'll start seeing our pieces rolling out now, probably one a month for a while after this next one comes out, trying to get all of our old stuff brought over. And we're going to get new stuff mixed in there too. We don't want to just bring over the old stuff. It is actually fun rewriting stuff to Cypher because the things we imagined get better when we move them to here. So that's interesting and exciting.
Before we move on to our last question, where could someone find all your products? Is everything on drive-thru, and what do they search for?
Look up ZealZaddy and you'll see our whole catalog. Everything's on drive-thru. Next year will be our first. They're all digital, by the way. Next year we'll do some printed pieces. The bigger Kickstarters will be physical books. I didn't want to risk physical for the first initially. It's higher risk when you're doing it something, but you can't do a Kickstarter and say you're going to get a PDF at the end and that's it. So you got to have paper.
Yeah. After skimming through the Porter today, I'm excited to see what you guys have coming forward because it looked really awesome. I'm excited. Maybe after this, before I go to bed tonight, I'll fully read everything you send me because it looked really cool.
Nice. Don't watch Old Gods before bed, though. You'll have nightmare. It's nightmare fuel in some ways.
So before we go into our audience questions and then our world famous rapid fire questions, that's what you're really here for. Right? Is there anything else you want our audience to know about you or any other projects that you have going on that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, I have one big thing that we're going to do next year. That 100-hour stream I was talking about?
Yeah.
I think I started talking with one of the people I ran in my Old Gods game who worked for Diversity Saves, and I think we're going to do a 100-hour game stream.
God bless your soul.
No, it's not going to be the same. It's going to change DMs and players every 4 hours. And run straight through 100 hours for one game. And it'll be for charity. It'll be for Diversity Saves. I'm putting together like a sponsor book right now, and I'll be hiring writers later on in the year as we narrow in a focus and start figuring out how to make it work. Like, I think we need historians, someone who watches the episode and writes out the bullet points for the next GM.
Oh,
if you get to 15th GM and you can't read all the crap written from the first episode. That'd be insane. So you have to.
Oh, it's one continuous story?
Yep, one story. So we'll have writers who will write the GM prep and do the character arcs and what points need to be hit, then leave it open from that. It's going to be crazy and it's going to be just fantastic. And I've not done a charity stream. This is my first one. And I decided, fuck it, I'm going to do something big as hell. And I'm going to try and type 100 hours I didn't do in the 80s.
If you want to see you to take a block, we could probably give you a good 4 hours, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down for doing some. Why not?
All right, so we got a few audience questions. Eric Frankhouse from Eric Frankhouse Presents. Great show. If you haven't listened to it, he's on Twitch and YouTube, mostly YouTube live streaming now. The first question he asked is, where did you get that dope hat?
My pork pie hat. It came. Where did I get this hat? Most of the clothes I got from. There's an online seller of like traditional clothes, historical. I don't know, presses. You know what? I'll drop it. I'll drop the info on Twitter, because I don't remember it off the top of my head. But the pork pie hat came from that also. And then, and Invisible Sun will be all cosplay too, by the way. That will be great cosplay.
So, again, Eric Frankhouse says, what does the start of a new design process look like for you and the team for Cypher System?
For us, it starts with myself and Cliff. We talk about what we want to do next. I mean, a lot of our stuff that we love are characters. So we've got a lot of really good, deep NPCs and gangs and religions and things like that. Part of it is we also want to create things that are usable in lots of people's games. Although we do have a setting plan to start next year. It may be 2026 when it comes out. I'm not really sure at this point. But we start with writing, and then I'm the art director or the creative director. He's the writer. He'll write, or he will hire a writer if we need to hire a writer, and he'll manage the writer. He'll be the editor, and we'll rewrite it and rewrite it and rewrite it until we can't even look at it anymore. And then at the same time, I'll be looking for illustrators. Like right now, I'm working with 2 illustrators simultaneously. Sometimes it's been as much as 4. But there's also, we use stock too sometimes. If we can't afford to use custom everywhere, at least not yet. So, we use stock in places too when it fits. And then we start figuring out the time that it's taking us to figure out our budget. And then so we can start figuring out a price. And some things we do pay what you want. I believe you need to have some pieces that are pay what you want as ways to get people to get a feel for what you do and how you write. And if they like that, they'll dig deeper into the other stuff. I've been publishing my whole career. Like, here's a book that I did for Paradigm Concepts. This is a 256-page book. This is a big ass one. All kinds of stuff. It's the other place though. That one just got done. I just did another 66-page book for them. I never want to do one like Tolis. That was like carrying bricks around, but it is beautiful.
Speaking of Tolis, because our last audience question is actually Eric is touching on when you said you're building a new city piece by piece. He will. Have you thought about some form of organized play, something to build an active community around what you are making?
Yeah, I don't want to run it, and Cliff and I told Cliff we should not run it. We're considering finding somebody to run it and paying somebody to run streams for a little bit to get it out there. I mean, that's the thing that a lot of the game companies do. They'll hire a GM and say, it's not like you're going to make a fortune off any of these little game companies, but get paid a little bit and use it to spread the word and make sure that you dig deep into the content that's being provided. That's the whole goal of that kind of thing. So yes, we do want to do it. We need more product on Cypher before we can really do that yet, though. But yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot of our audience questions. So thank you so much, audience, for posting questions.
Audience can do better than that. Come on, more questions.
Yeah, he was. Oh, well, we have our world famous rapid fire questions that you might not survive. This is the point where we dig deep into your soul, right, Scott? And we pull out your essence. We stretch it on the table for the whole world to see. Are you ready for the CU world famous rapid fire questions?
I don't think I'm ready, but I'll do it anyway.
All right. No question. You can answer as much or as little as you like, but question 1: player or GM?
GM. I love GMing. I love playing. And I'm a fun player. I give GMs a lot of usable content when I'm playing. But that means when I'm playing, I'm kind of helping the DM. I'm like on their side more than on my own. I was on their side. Like I love GMing. I love world building and GMing and all that. First.
Question number 2: pool punches or TPK?
TPK.
Oh, nice.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of a soft GM, but at the right moments, death is on the table. So it can happen.
Online or in-person gaming?
Online for me. I love in-person. I love online more. I didn't used to think that. And I used to run at a game store locally. And then I started streaming from that game store. And it was a lot of fun, but I like being comfortable in my own house. I love meeting people, and I think that it's great to have a regular group. It's amazing to meet, 300 new people a year and call them, players that you've played with, and potentially some of them become friends.
Yeah. All right. So next question: announce the difficulty or keep it a secret.
I have gone both ways. I've gone both ways in the same session. So if I think there's something that I don't want them to know about what the role needs to be, I will sometimes keep it a secret. It is pretty rare. I usually give them the number and let them. And 99%, 95% of the time, I tell them. A few every now and then. I think it's important for them not to know what the odds are because there's some value in knowing that number, especially with things like noticing things or stuff like that. So,
here's the best one: salty or sweet snacks at the gaming table.
I'm a salty dog. I like the salty stuff. The bad thing is the salty stuff's all crunchy. So in a stream game, oh, it's the worst. I can't really eat a lot of it live. You know, give me chips and pretzels, but that stuff. Imagine me eating it all game.
Do you have a preferred snack?
I love soft pretzels. Like they're the best. I freaking love soft pretzels, but they're still a little crunchy and. Chips, and almost any kind of chip except ranch because that's gross. So yeah, chips, cheese chips, nacho chips, spicy nacho chips, Fritos even I'll take.
Well, I like Fritos, but those barbecue. You ever had the what's that? The barbecue, not barbecue.
Chili.
Yeah, the chili cheese Fritos. Oh, those are good.
Super good.
RP or combat?
RP. I'll sometimes go 2-3 sessions without a fight. But then when there is a fight, usually it's meaningful and really dangerous. I love wrecking people emotionally. And that's a type of fight, isn't it?
That's a great T-shirt. I love wrecking people emotionally.
I wreck a lot of players.
New T-shirt, new Cypher Unlimited T-shirt.
Yeah,
We should come up do a series of shirts like that, Anthony. You know, have our Cypher Unlimited logo and then a slogan that comes from the show.
Yeah. We actually did really well with the Shauna Jermaine T-shirt. You want to play some fucking dinosaurs? We should put some other shirts out.
We should just call it the show quote shirts.
Pen and paper notes or digital?
I take pen and paper notes when I'm playing. I digitize them after the game when I'm re-listening to the episode. Then I digitize my notes to prep for the next session. So yeah,
PDFs or physical books?
Man, that's a hard one. I love physical books. I back the shit out of stuff. Like all this shit's all back from Monte Cook Games and on this side too. Like I back stuff, and I back it for physical books. I probably use the PDFs more now. I hate saying it. It feels dirty to me that the paper is not getting it done all the time. But I often pull the books next to me in case I have to have something quick. But man, the PDFs, especially if they're done with good internal links, are the shit. They're just awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. Pre-written adventures or original content?
Original content. I take inspiration from other people's adventures or even settings. Like when I ran Old Gods, I made up my own town. I did not run in all the things they ran. I took the setting and placed it there. But I love the original part. That's the world builder in me. Like the place that we played was a place called Guilty Hole, and it was called that for a reason. They learn it in the game why it was called that, and there's joy for GMs that like world building to expose their players to their madness.
Awesome. You survived the world famous rapid fire question.
Oh my God.
Congrats.
I didn't think I was going to make
it. Scott, thank you so much for coming on. We couldn't We couldn't thank you enough. This was an awesome conversation. You're welcome to come back anytime. We had a great time chatting with you. I'm excited to finish reading the Porter. I'm excited to see what ZealZaddy has coming up down the pike. You know, we're gonna post all your links on our chat on our YouTube channel tomorrow. Everything. Yeah, please go support Scott. Please support ZealZaddy. Go watch their actual plays. They're freaking awesome, and he's a all-around great guy. So there's nothing, anything else I can say but go buy his shit and support his shows.
If you're going to be a Gen Con, I'll see you.
All I'm going to say, Scott, is thanks a lot, man. Keep up the great work. You're an inspiration to all of us out there. And Anthony, you and your damn New York accent. It's ZealZaddy, not ZealZaddy. It's Zell.
Okay. I think I got it at the last 5 seconds of the interview.
ZealZaddy.
Don't worry, we'll fix this in post-production.
Yeah, if you go to Gen Con or PAX Unplugged this year, I'll see you there. I'm potentially going to Gamehole Con. I'm trying to figure out if I can make it work because I do want to make it to the big Gamehole Con that I know MCG that's their big one. So I'm trying to get that one.
If you definitely come. We'll see you there.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Once again, thank you so much, Scott. We really appreciate you coming down. We really appreciate you spending the time to chat with us. This was an awesome discussion. If you like us and you like what we do, join the Cypher Unlimited Discord server for all things Monty Cook games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for everything MCG. But if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. It's not as big as our Discord, but there's still great conversations being had there daily. If you find in the kindness of your heart, give us a sub here on Twitch. Or subscribe to us here as well, or go to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe there. We're still trying to build both platforms up, so any help you could give us would be greatly appreciated. Our videos are always free, but if you want to help us out financially in any way, you could give us a little donation on Ko-fi, or go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch, like the shirt Dean got on. And yes, CypherCon shirts will be up on that there shortly. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you so much, Scott, for coming on and talking to us about ZealZaddy. And just as a quick reminder, next week on Tuesday will be my solo stream. I'll be playing some solo play of the Entropic Isles, which is my upcoming book, which also the backer kit launches the same day. So it's going to do a solo stream to commemorate that. Looking forward to that. So yeah, definitely come around Tuesday, our normal time. And yeah, thank you again so much, and have a great night. And as usual, from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.